Welcome to the FX Masterclass. My name is Ernest Rowe. This video, we're going to cover the Impact M3. What we're going to cover is I'm going to show you the most common area the impact would leak. And I'm going to show you how to reseal it by using the FX Reseal Kit. All right, let's get started. Alright, the most common leak on the M3 inside the rear block, the plenum, and the action. We're going to cover the regulator in depth, and it's best to locate your leak. So if it's leaking from the rear block, we're just going to go into the rear block and replace those O-rings to need to be resealed without disturbing the other O-rings, because the other O-rings are broken in to create a better seal. All right, because it takes a while to compress rubber that has a wider sealing surface press against the wall. Whatever sealing is set, is happy, it's not leaking. So we're going to leave those alone. All right, let's get started. All right, just say we have a leak in the rear block. Inside the rear is the valve housing. We're going to go in there and replace the seals. And to do that, safety first is degas the gun. Now you could screw this out while it's still bleeding. It's not gonna fly out. See it? You go ahead and remove the barrel. And don't forget about your barrel clamp if you have one installed. Remember to pull the barrel out gently, because there's O-ring in the barrel mount and in the clamp. If you pull it out too fast, it could fall between the transfer port on both sides, and you could, like a guillotine, just cuts it. All right, slowly. Yeah, we're gonna put a bipod on here, easier to disassemble. Remove the top rail. The whole top rail. Cocking assembly. I take the C1, I'm going to remove it. Just grab the C1, kind of wiggle side to side and pull. Now, we're going to use specialty tools here, but I could show you some other stuff that will work just as good. Now, to minimize gouging the rod, you could have, heat shrink on your jaw and your vice grip, or have tape or little cardboard over the rod. Crimp it. And same thing on this side, on the C1. Also use cardboard on the C1. The reason using vice grips, protecting the surface, because the C1 rides on your valve adjuster. And if you have burrs in there, it would, scratch up the inside and cause drag. It'll affect your extreme spread. And as soon as you break it loose, remove it. Now some specialty tools like these, you could line it up on this hole and you could spin it out that way without gouging it up. And it's a safety nest for the C1. It'll be right here without losing it. C1. Now you want to pull your C1, your rod. Get your weight hammer, and there's a spring in there. Right. Leave it sticking out. The reason I'm having it out, I don't want it inside the rear block because they're off-centered. So just turn your rear block and plenum till it unscrews from this piece here. Like I said, if there's no leak here, there's no reason to totally take this gun apart. You don't want to reseal the whole gun. It doesn't require to be resealed. You reseal it if it only leaks. Because if that O-ring is set and sealing, you don't want to disturb it. Now, to remove this, you need to take this off. First is the gauge. Usually this gauge just sits on the O-ring. Just hand tight it. 4 screws here to remove the whole rear butt assembly. Now you need to loosen this set screw. What you do is you move it side to side and slowly pull. You gotta do it slow now. Don't go pull it really fast because there's some sharp burrs in here where the set screws sit. It'll get cut up here or get cut up here if you really yank on it. So easy on it. Now, there is 3 O-rings inside this block. Right? One seals right here. So if that O-ring leak, it will leak between this gap here. All right. And the second O-ring will sit here. And if that leaks, it'll leak to your transfer port and leak out your barrel. And the other one sits right here. Let's say right there. So when you fire, this transport gets pressurized. It prevents from blowing by towards your magazine section. All right, you're gonna replace those O-rings. They're 16x2 inside. Remember, when you do this, you always want to pick on a rubber and let go. Right? You don't want to. Like I say, there's a correct way of doing it. It's like you can't be sitting on metal and trying to pick underneath it. You want to poke the rubber, gradually let off on it, then trying to get the O-ring out without leaving a gouge on O-ring sealing surface. That will also cause a leak. 1, 2, and the section down there is going to be harder to get to. 3. This packet comes in 4. The other one is in here. Since it wasn't leaking there, I would leave it alone. Remember to lube these. Usually, quickest way, grab one edge, sit it on the O-ring groove, and press it all the way around. It's in. And the other, that inside is going to be the trickiest one. You have a good light. When it's seated in there, it kind of stays there. You just kind of, a little bit at a time, go around a circle and press it against the O-ring groove, and it stays there. And they're all in. That was pretty quick and easy because I've done it a couple of times. All right, re-lube this area here. This is where the set screw sits. Remember, when you put it in, it's slowly putting it in. Push it further as you can till it's kind of flush here. Now, lightly seat the set screw. Then rotate the body. See it moving still? I'm trying to center the set screw on a flat spot. And when the minimal movement, I'm dead center on it. Then continue tight, tight. And this section is resealed. Now, if you have a leak right here and right here, we're going to change those O-ring. Loosen this set screw. Twist and pull. Remove your rod. All right. Now, since this is out, we're going to replace the O-ring that seals this rod. All right. If this is inside this piece here, all right, if it leaks, it would leak inside this power wheel section. And usually you put leak tech in there, it'll bubble, or you'll hear it from this section here. You're going to replace those. It's this O-ring here. And at the end, they're small guys here. You gotta pinch at it. Like that. They're tricky to get when they're all lubed up. I try to use my nails because I don't want to use the pick. So if you're going to use a pick, you pinch it till it partially come up like that and go underneath it like that. Spin it around, get it out that way. Now you clean the O-ring grooves up. All right, these O-rings are 9 by 1.5. All right, since my hands are already lubed up, it's lightly lubed. You're gonna roll these. All right. And we're gonna place the seals in there. There should be 2 O-rings. You want to lightly you don't want to be pressing, trying to gouge it out. You make sure you're on the O-ring lightly. There's 1. This should be like 1.5. And this big O-ring here. This O-ring. All right, go and replace those. All right. Yeah, you get your rod, kind of clean it, kind of fill up with burrs on the rod. It's good. And this O-ring here you need to replace is 2.2 by 1. What I mean by that is 2.2 is the inside diameter. All right. 1 is the how thick the O-ring is. Okay. If this O-ring leaks, it seals here. So when it seals the transfer port. All right. If it was leaking, it'll blow out on your magazine section. If you remove the bag and you fire, if it's blowing out of here, it's this O-ring here need to replace. Okay. Now we're gonna place the O-ring that seals the rod. Right there for now, and we're gonna get the other O-ring. It's 5.5 by 1.5. It just sits in front of it, kind of pushing both together. Usually I clean this off, just lightly push it in. You can make circular motion. You can tell when they're sitting flush. Look down there to verify. All right. Now this O-ring here is 25 by 2.5. All right. Now, there is, I don't know if you can see in the camera, there's a little divot here. That's the indication you need to be in between these two clamp and facing forward, because this is off center. You want to get proper clearance between your plenum and your barrel. It needs this divot in between this clamp. You gotta take your time, make sure the O-ring is compressing and sliding in to the half cylinder here. And keep an eye on that notch. You see how slow I'm going? Oh. Then the first O-ring start going into this action right there. You gotta look for that notch right there. As long as you can see it and centered, and this piece is flush as far as it goes, then you tighten the clamp. Now we'll kind of lube the rod, because that white O-ring is in there just free floating, and you want this slippery as possible to not to reposition this O-ring inside there. Kind of turn and push. All right. Now wipe up the excess lube. Now, it doesn't go the full revolution, right? You over rotate it. So as far as it goes, you need to go move it back, keep this section, flat section aligned with this. All right. Now, this plug here, let me remove this. You want a rag? There he goes. Now, there's a little plug here. It's the 2.5 Allen. This is just a plug because they milled out this section here for the passage for the air from the plenum. This O-ring here is 2x1. It's tricky, but it's another way. You hold one edge on the O-ring groove, grab one end, loop it. That'll work. I got small fingers. If you have big fingers, good luck with that. Something. It's kind of slippery and small to hold it by hand. So with this rubber jaw Allen, see if we hold it that way. There you go. Alright, you're gonna remove the regulator. Remove the reg adjustment screw. Reg body. Now, when you're lucky, the piston and all the spring washers comes out together. Now, there's an O-ring inside here. I think it's 10 by 1.5. They're difficult to remove. You're gonna need a lot of light to get in there and see this O-ring. You kind of have a feel for it. Removing it is hardest. Putting it back in is the easiest. Never not to gouge the action. Right. Remove the piston. Keep the washers together. And we'll remove this 4 by 1.5 O-ring out. And there's the same size O-ring inside here. There. And this O-ring here. And the small ones. Kind of just break them off. They're a hard time getting it out. All right, we're gonna reseal the regulator. We're gonna start with the piston. It's probably the hardest one to slide the O-ring in on. It's a 2 by 1 O-ring. You gotta slightly lube it because this O-ring is 0.90 and they're tough to slide on. Sometimes you end up breaking them. And use this vice grip, heat shrink on it because you need to be still as possible. I use both my nails, just slightly seated like that. You just gotta slide the other one over the other O-ring, just like that. There we go. Now, 4 by 1.5 on the piston. There's another one inside the reg body. Usually I use 1.5. A little tricky. The trick is having the fall inside the O-ring groove like that and push the rest in with the other hand. Confirm. Now, this 7.5 by 2 mil. Now we're going to place it inside the pistol grip. Now, put your spring washers back in. Now, usually I drop it in there, then I'll press around the spring washer till it falls in place. If you don't have the customized tools. Just go around in a circle. As you go back and forth, you feel slide in place. Verify the spring is sitting flush with the other spring. Now, this is the best time to slide in the O-ring that slides into the body, the pistol grip. The spring washer prevents this O-ring from sliding further down the body because it just sits right on top of the O-ring groove. I just got to press it in. Usually I get a bigger Allen, like a 2.5. Then you switch over to 1.5, just press it in on the O-ring groove. And you can see it slide in. You're gonna need a lot of lighting to see it. It's so much quicker and faster having those spring washers right there to guide it, preventing from over traveling. Now you slide your body in. Your reg adjustment screw. Now the easy way to set this, you lightly bottom it out and back it out one turn. Back it out one full turn. That'll give you around 100 bars. And you fine tune it later. All right, the bottle rig, we're going to the Reseal next. Need a 24 socket. Unscrew it. Now we're going to disassemble it. Well, remove all the O-rings in it. Just to show you, all the O-rings doesn't mean it's leaking. And there's a brass plug in there. We're going to replace the O-ring also. Because to access this plug, you need to remove the regulator. It's a 2.2 by 1 O-ring is in this plug. Alright, you need a flathead screwdriver. Unscrew this retainer. And remove when that's removed, you can unscrew the regulator adjustment screw. Alright, now stick a 2.5 mil and slowly press out the piston. And the washers, if they don't come out, and push them out. There it goes. Brass retainer. There's an O-ring on there. Gotta remove that real quick. There. Then the springs will come out. Keep them all organized. There you go. And there's an O-ring 4 by 1.5 inside there. It's probably one of the toughest O-ring to get out. There you go. Then you get his O-ring here. And the dowdy seal. This seal you don't really need to replace unless it's leaking, but I'm trying to show you how to remove it. See, it comes out like a little bit at a time. So get underneath it, rotate it like that. When you get an even gap, get your fingernails in there, slide it out. All right. All right. Just clean it up, and we're going to reseal it. Add new seals in it. You got your dowdy seal. Now, when you look at this, there's no right and wrong how to put this in, either side. Slide it in. You gotta rock it back and forth. All right. And we'll put the bigger O-ring on front. This is the 14x2. All right. Now we're going to install the hardest O-ring to put on is in the middle. But the trick is to get this rig adjustment screw inside, so prevent the O-ring from over traveling the O-ring groove. All right. So we're going to place the O-ring right here. I just go ahead and break it off. There you go. And so on. There's an adjustment screw. Just bottom it out lightly. You gotta have patience with this O-ring. Think we got it. It just spring back on. There. The size of the retainer. Slide it in like that. O-ring goes on top. All right, if we put that in, we're gonna put the plug back in. That ain't gonna work. Where is it at? All right. Put back your retainer in the front. Lightly tighten it. Now, since we bottomed out reg adjustment screw, back it out one turn, counterclockwise. There we go. Now, the Foster seal sometimes leaks because sometimes you get dirty air. That's where it accumulates. Need a 14 mil to remove the Foster. Here's your check valve. And you get a Delrin seal right here, the white one. I'll replace that. Make sure you clean up the shaft. And you get this 10x1 O-ring right here, seals it from the body. That's good. So cleaned up. That. Slide it in like this. Clean off this mating surface here. You just like to put it horizontal like that, so the O-ring doesn't slide off the groove. Now these gauges here, if they happen to leak, I mean, they're easy to replace. This gauge here, if it leaks a little bit, it's easy just to tighten it down. If it does leak, we'll place the quad seal underneath it. But the bottle reg gauge has a little brass retainer. It has this O-ring here. It's really easy to replace it. Like that. Retainer back on. And screw back on. There you go. And there's a quad seal underneath this if you need to reseal it. Show you a safe way to remove it. If you can't unscrew it by hand, get a vice grip like this. Go below it. If you go above it, you might pop the lens off. Right. Quad seal to the bottom, like that. Just use the gauge to press all the way down. Replace the quad seal in the back where the reg gauge is at. There's a quad seal. Yeah, we'll put the gauge on later. Now all the O-rings replaced. We're going to continue assembling it. First, we'll need to put the trigger assembly in. Cover back on. We're going to put the trigger guard on so it's easier to assemble it when it's on the tripod, bipod. Alright, we're going to put the hammer system in. Your hammer spring, hammer weight, actual hammer. Slide it all the way back. I'll put the C1 back on. Okay. Lightly seated. Valve adjuster body. Spring. Valve knob. Kind of flip it over. Okay, put the butt pad assembly. Make sure your spring and safety pin. Put your gauge on. Just hand tight. Put a cock assembly on. Now, sometime if you accidentally rotated the rear end, you'll affect your stroke of your probe. To me, it's too far back. It has to be around 44 mil between the edge here over at the back of the probe carrier. So actually 41. So it's short. To increase the stroke, this is a reverse thread. You need to turn it counterclockwise to move, actually move it inward. We're going to do 2 revolutions, and we'll take another measurement. .42. Let's go another 2 more revolutions. .43. Pretty sure this is the last one, so 1 revolution. 44. Now I gotta put the top rail on. We're just gonna put a couple of threads in all the screws. Now we're gonna get the barrel. We're gonna use the barrel to align the rear end because it's kind of free floating. Just push it halfway in so it's solid, so we can start torquing it down. Let's see. Kind of align it. Barrel clamp. Grist. Now we're gonna pressurize to verify all the O-rings are sealing. Now I got a pressurized system. We only got 110 bars on his bottle, but it's good enough for testing. All right. It doesn't mean you're gonna need to reseal the whole gun. It's very time consuming. And usually just locate the leak where it's at and get to that O-ring that is leaking. Don't replace a whole, reseal the whole gun. Don't need to. And this kit also include O-rings for the barrel system, the O-ring inside the liner. So it's plenty here to, fully reseal or just replace the O-ring that is required on the barrel system. Yeah, let's include this video. So if you have any question, comment, suggestion, drop me a line. All right, we'll catch you next video.